on YouTube. I can't believe this, but right now I'm actually getting a chance to review a car that I always thought was almost like one of those dream cars. Well, here recently I purchased a 2015 Camaro Z28. You see, I've only seen one in my life, and so that's kind of almost how rare they are. But only 1,800 were produced between 2014 and 2015. So kind of give you a quick breakdown of why that's special and different from the SS and the Camaro ZL1. Has under the hood the 427, the LS7 7.0 liter, pumps out 505 horsepower, 470 foot-pounds of torque, naturally aspirated, so it's just raw power that they went ahead and threw into the Camaro because, you know, why not? So not only from there, this car that they made was just track inspired, race enthusiast, and they wanted to make wakes. It was the first time really an American muscle car didn't drive like an American muscle car. It handled very well. So this car rips. I'll be quiet for a second so you can kind of hear it. Need to come to a stop. These things will get the job done. But as far as the tires on here, they put 305s all the way around, all four corners. Why? For aggressive driving. The notion to want to take this out like, you know, autocross racing or something along those lines. This car is track ready. It took me a while to get used to this because we actually flew up to Chicago to get this thing and drive it all the way back down to Houston. I left it in sport mode the whole way home. I didn't know all the different options and features when I got in this thing. And it felt like a roller coaster. My wife left the seat a couple times. You know, the backcountry roads driving, it beat the crap out of us. So that's why I left it in sport. I was just in case somebody wanted to race me, I was ready to go. The differential gears on this thing, it has 391s in the rears. So if you're looking like one of those quarter-mile track cars, this is not that car. That's not what it's designed to do. It's got a thinner rear differential. So with that, it's for, you know, again, better distribution of power to the wheels and acceleration. I've got plenty of headroom. So for comfort, I probably weigh about 215, 220, and like I said, 6'1", 6'2". It's a little difficult getting in and out because one, it's got the Z28 Recaro seats. It's got this little lip over here. You know, kind of keeps you from sliding around in corners, but it makes it a little more difficult getting in and out of this thing. One of the things, the handling, when they said this thing is bumpy, yes, you feel almost every bump. You gotta hop around like a wooden roller coaster. If you're looking for a car that drives on smooth, like metropolitan roads, big highways, that sort of thing, the Z28, great car. Or if you're like autocross racing. Live in the back country roads, uneven terrain or uneven roads, beat you up pretty bad, and that's even with it in touring mode. Great options, great features. So the performance side of it. How many people can say I've got basically a track ready car on demand without having to spend, you know, $100,000+ You can pick these cars up as far as like best bang for buck. The Camaro Z28, that was it. It just sounds awesome. So you have cars that have all the electronic controls or whatnot. You're just engaged when you drive this thing. Some of the drawbacks that people might say was, oh, you got blind spots, oh, you can't see. Yeah, to some degree, they're not wrong. These have very limited windows. really have to rely using your Jedi senses. You got to know where cars are. Now, if you're into all the bells and whistles and so forth, this thing came optional with the AC and radio. For safety concerns, they only had one speaker, so that way when you open the door, you can hear the door chime. After I had this thing dynoed, so 431 baseline, this dynoed out at 488.8. So for $700, if you to get your car tuned, somebody want to know, how does this thing drive? From the previous cars that I have, it took me about 2 states worth of driving. The steering is very responsive, and you got the big old tires up front. They're getting the 305s all the way around. Those are big tires. It's almost like turning truck tires, but that they turn on a dime. So if you're on the fence and you're saying, well, what should I get? Should I get a Camaro Z28? Should I get an SS? Should I get a ZL1? That's solely on you. What are your chances of you actually getting to drive one of these things, see one of these things? And the answer is, you're probably not. It's 2025. One of the things I have to say about this, just kind of things to take into consideration. The parts on this are pretty much discontinued. So you're going to have to find other Z28s that have parted out or I guess crashed or something along those lines. Even like aftermarket stuff, it's slim picking. So, kind of keep that in mind. Is this going to be a collector's car? Yeah, absolutely. It's a freaking animal. The other aspect of that is, it's like I'm driving a Z28. Like, this is so cool. Is it bumpy? Yeah, you probably see me hopping up a little bit, but it's like, who cares? It's a Z28. And most people are like, what is a Z28? Almost like a unicorn of Camaro cars, just because of the limited production. I've got it up to 145, and just the acceleration all the way through that point, it's still pulling. You get there very quickly. Personally, driving this thing is freaking awesome. Stop, smell the roses. Well, you gotta have your little inner kid needs to have fun too. These types of vehicles and cars quickly bring out that inner child in you again, almost instantaneously. And so that's almost like the transition. When you step on the gas, you feel like this time warp. You get an authentic smile on your face, so it's just really cool. Experience. I think that's what this car gives you. The experience of driving. That's almost the expectation of this car. As kind of a disclaimer, that when they talked about that the Camaro Z28 rides rough, they weren't kidding. This thing, you feel every pebble, every bump. Oh my goodness. Ugh. All right. Metropolitan area, you got nice smooth roads. The Z28 is the way to go. Now they do have an option in here. It's the touring mode, but still it drives like a race car. But at the same time, if you're looking to drag race this thing, it's really not what it's geared for. For me, it's very cool, and that's why I got it. I can find a ZL1 or an SS Camaro in almost any market, and if that's what you want to do, then go ahead. As for me, I want to get something I can get into and drive. Now, as far as a daily driver, this thing's got it. One of the nice things that did come with this vehicle is that it did have a radio touch screen with the backup camera already installed. They have the option of like the heater and AC. Well, this one's got it. When you get out of the car, you turn around and take a look at it. Even for me, I was like, man, this is a sexy car. Everything about it just looks sharp. It's going to be hard pressed to find somebody that's driving a Z28 as well, so it's almost like you're in your own little niche market as far as driving a car is concerned. I got this for me because I wanted it. It's been like a dream car. First time I saw it, it came out, and I was just blown away at what it was, what it could do. Drive mine every day. Probably plenty of people around there that's going, why would you do that? Or it's not showroom model quality, but what was most important for me was the motor. I just prefer these vehicles. As you can see, if I want to lean back, I can. And people complain that the visibility on this, everything's got its quirks. View out the front and the back, yeah, especially in this this one, it has the wing in the back. I don't know if you can see, you can barely see the car behind you. So if you're a little short, just like my wife, she's like 5 foot, you almost need to give her some phone books or a booster chair. With me, I can barely see just above the tail lights or headlights on SUVs, so you do have that restriction. The mirrors are on the side, they great visibility. Maybe that's for you, maybe it's not. But again, the only drawback to the Z28, you probably see or hear it, boom, boom. You feel those bumps. It feels like a race car, and that was what it was designed to be. Race cars that have like the roll cages and so forth, and just no center console, just a stick shift. That's almost the vibe that this car kind of puts out, and that's really cool. You have kind of a modern daily driver race car, like autocross, I would say NASCAR kind of thing, but that's almost what it feels like. Drawback, if you try to get into the car, big guys like me, I have to lift the steering wheel up and lean the seat back just so I can exit and enter without too much a hassle. So if you're under 6'2", you probably have a lot less problems than I do trying to get in and out. Another issue with that, if you have smaller kids, no problem. The fun, the thrill, you history. It's just like one of those bucket list kind of a cars. There's not a lot of videos on Z28s that are out there, like quarter mile times and all that stuff. And so I don't really think you're going to find very many people that are, you know, willing to take their car down there and drag race it. That's just not what they're designed to do. Not too many people, when my SS people would jack with me all the time, they haven't really been trying to race this guy. You know, it's like you've seen a Lambo and trying to mess with it, or like a Ferrari, or it's like, better not, you know, if you don't want to get embarrassed. So at any rate, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos.